Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in today. Welcome to Time for More Injury Funding, the podcast for all who want to learn about legal funding and its significance in the personal injury, medical malpractice, tracking law, workers' compensation, injuries, and many other types of law practice domains. I'm your host, Laura, founder and CEO of More Injury Funding, the legal funding counselors with passion for law, medicine, legal funding, and heart for all suffering individuals. In today's episode, I have a special guest, personal injury attorney Travis Meltzer, managing attorney of Valley Injury Law based in Arizona and Nevada. Today, we are exploring a topic that's crucial for law firms looking to thrive in today's competitive environment. The importance of nationwide networks for expanding referral flows in the personal injury marketplace. At the end of our episode, I have prepared fun pop up questions, so stay tuned. Welcome to a Sign for More Injury Funding podcast, Travis.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Laura.
It's so good to have you with us as well. In an era where connectivity is key, the traditional methods of gaining clients are evolving. Law firms no longer operate in isolation. Instead, they now have the opportunity to tap into expansive networks that can significantly boost their referral systems. So, what exactly do we mean by nationwide networks, and why should personal injury law firms consider leveraging these connections? Can you break it down for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So, anytime you have a referral network, even locally, it's always nice to have a couple people that will refer you cases, whatever that might mean, whether you're in criminal law, personal injury law, or anything like that. But by expanding nationwide, especially regionally, it increases that intake flow or new cases flow from firms that not only know who you are but that you trust and that they're already pre-screened referrals coming from either Southern California that one of their old clients got hurt in Arizona, and so they give us a call, things like that. So it gives you the ability to not only expand the amount of cases that you're getting but increase the quality of cases that you'd be getting because they're already pre-screened by these law firms nationwide.
That totally makes sense. Thank you for explaining this so thoroughly. So, first off, let's define what we mean by nationwide networks. What are they? Groups of law firms, legal professionals, and referral partners that span across the country. Please give us a couple examples.
Yeah, absolutely. So they are, I mean, the easy answer, the straightforward answer is they are what you make it. It can be firms, and at least the approach that we've taken at my firm is we've approached firms that are regionally located, whether they're Southern California, Utah, New Mexico, things like that, and just flat out approach them and said, hey, we need somebody to refer California cases to. Do you guys need someone to refer Arizona cases to? And we've done that with quite a few partners through Nevada, California, Arizona, and Utah, which has helped. And it's mainly just law firms. It's, connection of a connection. It's an attorney that we've run across before, or a firm that I've seen before that has an office in Colorado, things like that. Now, paralegals or paraprofessionals can also do it too. It's the same concept where, that's the beauty of social media. It's very easy to find firms and people that practice throughout the valley or throughout the country, um, that you can connect with and easily just say bounce ideas off. Honestly, it's more of just knowledge as well. It's knowledge based.
Absolutely. Good to know. Being part of nationwide network enhances one's credibility. What does it mean to be connected to reputable firms across the country? What does it mean for you?
Yeah, no, and it gives you an automatic boost for a firm like mine that's been open, for 3 years. While I've been practicing longer than that, nobody knows who we are, but they know who the large firms are, kind of thing. So if those larger firms are referring to us, that trust that they've already built with the public and that client, you would hope, should transfer to you as long as that smooth transfer is there. And it just boosts reputability simply because if the larger firm is willing to work with you, the client should trust you. And it usually does at least bring up the trust meter when it comes to those new clients that are being transferred to your firm. It just helps a lot. And also, too, if you're close enough to those larger firms, again, that knowledge base that those larger firms have, simply just based on size, it's a untapped resource when it comes to these smaller to medium sized firms.
Totally makes sense. Now let's talk about the benefits. Why should personal injury law firms prioritize joining these networks? Can you provide a few key reasons?
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. So the biggest reason and what we're all looking for is more cases and
Mhm.
just an increased flow of referral funnels, so to speak. So the more firms that you are connected with, the more people you are connected with, in theory, the more Arizona cases for us or Nevada cases or wherever you practice should come through. And even so, you can also be the hub for your jurisdiction. And what I mean by that is if you have clients coming in and saying, hey, my family member got hurt in California, do you know anyone? And it sounds really great when you can say, yes, I do. And so that you kind of become that legal hub for current and former clients.
Mhm. And let's not forget about the power of marketing. Being part of a network can enhance your visibility and reach. You can participate in joint marketing efforts, webinars, events, amplifying your firm's presence in the marketplace. So, how can personal injury firms get involved in these nationwide networks?
Yeah, so start off social media. I mean, you can search them, Facebook, any Instagram, things like that. There are also larger companies now that are doing those things, whether it's through technology or their own databases that they've started to use. We're almost like a marketplace of
Mhm.
referrals. So it's one of those things that it'll help simply for the smaller firms and medium-sized firms that don't have the marketing budget of those larger firms, because you can approach it as a regional network and do events. There's local firms here that are doing that with a couple regional firms that it's sponsored by these networking groups. And it's great because they bring in firms and people from all over the country to meet where they wouldn't have otherwise. And so it's one of those things that it's extremely helpful to expand your reach throughout the entire nation, particularly when you're in the early years of your law firm.
Okay. So, to illustrate the impact of national networks, let's take a moment to highlight a couple of success stories. Can you please share one or two?
Yeah, no, absolutely. The one that comes to mind was we got a call from a Texas lawyer who's practiced for 30 something years. I have no idea where they heard. I think he heard from me on LinkedIn from somebody or connection to somebody, just called one of his old clients, got in an accident in Arizona, traveling home to Texas. The insurance company wasn't settling, so all they had to do was file. And being licensed in Arizona, we took the case on, filed, and 10 minutes later, essentially, the case was resolved at the full policy limits. And so that's one, I can help an attorney that I never met before, but also the client will remember us if they ever need anything in Arizona because of the quick turnaround. And then also, it's a case that the firm would have never gotten otherwise. And so that's just one of those little things that those cases add up. They really do when it comes to that, because that's the hardest thing when you're starting in this whole marketplace of personal injury, since it is so competitive and so flooded. Um, it's getting that next case. You never really know when that next case is coming. And so the more networks and funnels, so to speak, that you can develop through professional networking, personal networking, anything like that, just the more cases that you can expect, or at least the more opportunities for cases that you can expect through the course of a year.
These stories, Travis, highlight the real world benefits of being part of nationwide network. It's not just about referrals, it's about building a community of support that can help firms navigate the complexities of personal injury law. Can nationwide networks enhance a law firm's ability to manage cases that span through multiple jurisdictions?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And what it does is it's something that I think I'm kind of saying a lot here, but it's really using those networks where you're not only using those networks as referral sources, but knowledge sources as well. When you connect, whether it's locally or regionally or nationally, to a larger firm, again, odds are that firm has been around longer than your firm, or you have been practicing. So their knowledge base would be significantly higher. And even just when it comes to litigating for clients, whether you need a form or a certain motion that's been written that you have no clue what you're writing or have no idea, have never done it before, that's great. Or if a case happens to cross boundaries and go into federal jurisdiction, where I have a client that got in an accident in Indiana on the way home. So things like that. If I have an Indiana attorney that I can bounce ideas off of, if it's more beneficial to file in Indiana or Arizona, because I'm not licensed in Indiana. So in to have that network and have those people behind you, um, or what is that old term, the Rolodex of attorneys from across the country, it just makes your life easier as a solo medium-sized firm because you know that you will have those answers without having to use Google, and you'll go to places that you trust, the people that you trust, because they refer clients. And if that's usually the biggest sign of trust is if somebody refers you a client, they're putting that trust in you and vice versa. So those are the people that you could go to get advice.
That's so true. Travis, what are some best practices for building and maintaining relationships within the national network? What is your experience with that?
Yeah, so my best practice is treat it like a personal relationship. When you talk to these other law firms, candidly, I cold called some law firms or I try to find an attorney on LinkedIn and I'll connect to them and start a conversation, but treat it like a friendship. It's very easy to make these relationships all business. And hey, do you have any Arizona cases today or do you have any Nevada cases today? And that's not the relationship I think that would last long term. It goes, beyond that remember their birthdays. Like if there's an attorney that you met, remember their birthdays, send them a message, a text. You follow them on Facebook and you see their kid had a birthday or they had an anniversary, or if they're going to be in town, even just mention it. Just make sure that it's more than just where's the next case. It's really get to know these people. And I think it just goes to show that the human connection when it comes to networking, it is very, very important because in today's world, particularly when it comes to technology, I feel like we are disconnected. And so it's very easy to just go on to the next relationship or on to the next person, to go down the list of these referral partners and say, hey, Laura, where's the next case coming? Or hey, Travis, where's the next case coming? It's a hell of a lot better if you reach out to them and say, hey, how's your family? How's your wife? I haven't talked to you in a bit. The cases will come naturally from that because you're going to be top of mind because you're not only a business partner, but you're also a nice person. So,
Absolutely. Makes a huge
yeah,
difference. And it's interesting you say that, in my experience from the legal funding perspective. So I have countless people that truly through cases or through referrals or through networking became my friends.
yeah,
And it's just amazing. I love it. Becomes your family. Um,
absolutely.
how can law firms encourage active participation and collaboration among their network members, Travis?
Yeah. So it's by kind of doing something like this where you're selling the success stories, but also you're saying these other firms, these large firms, have been doing this for a while. They've been doing it behind the scenes. And you see these larger nationwide firms because that's what they do. They have large 1-800 numbers that they get call in from all over the country, and then they farm those cases out to local firms. That's happened for years. So it's one of those things that I believe that a small, medium firm that's kind of been untapped. So why not just get together all the small firms, medium-sized firms, and increase your market size? Because now you have 4 or 5 firms in large metropolitan areas that will get cases. They just will. And so to kind of cross refer there, and it just helps a ton. Honestly, with the bottom line with running a law firm, it's nice to know simply from being a nice person or a personable person, um, that you could get more cases simply from just existing and having these relationships.
Yeah, it's definitely works when somebody is good in their heart with good values and ethical morals, and with good work ethics. and
Yeah.
responsible and responds to emails and text messages.
Yeah,
I'm a
exactly.
I'm a strong believer in that.
It's a
Uh,
lost art. And, I think communication really is kind of a lost art in this day and age, unfortunately. And I know my my generation's a big reason for that. But it it helps, and it's a way to differentiate yourself too, just not only as a company, but as somebody that people like to work with.
yes. Let's talk now about technology and innovation for a moment. How can law firms utilize online platforms and tools to maximize their engagement with a national or nationwide network?
Yeah. Yeah. So, like we talked a little bit about before, I mean, any social media, any of those groups, you could Google or search them on Facebook. There are groups out there, or LinkedIn is another really good one. And then there's also, like I said, there are companies that are starting to do their own databases and own marketplaces, so to speak, um, to bring attorneys to there from nationwide, just for where they post cases. And actually, those kinds of networks is where I've developed quite a few of the relationships as well, where somebody would post a case or put a case up, refer it to my firm, and I just, through the course of that case, developed the relationship, and now a couple of those firms refer all Arizona and Nevada cases to us. So it's again, it's just one of those things to understand that using these networks or being a part of the networks or creating your own network is important to start it, yes, but you have to, it's like a garden, right? You have to sit there and you have to let it grow. It's not something that would help or that would work overnight. And that's what I think, unfortunately, people expect, that you join these networks and I get 100 cases. And it's not how it works. You hope to get 100 cases over the course of a couple of years from one referral. That's huge, because that's 100 cases you would have never seen. So it's really just casting a wide net, understanding the goal that you have for your firm in growth, and understanding where you want it to be, and just being a nice person. Again, like I said, I think that's something that stands out in this world, unfortunately, is just being somebody that's available.
Mm-hmm. And I love your comparison with networking, as you know, with the plants. You have to plant it, and then you have to give sun and light and good soil and water, of course. Actually,
Yeah.
talking about that, my son gave me for Christmas some seeds. I'm trying to grow them, and I'm not the best. So I'm like, literally, they're right here on my left. So I
Yeah.
saw two little young sprouts coming out. So I'm like, yay, maybe it will
Hey,
happen this time. But I have all these
it's
like
working.
nine different herbs in the middle of Georgia winter.
Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah, and you do. And you just have to really nurture it. And like we said a little bit earlier, I mean, every relationship or any interaction, even if it's in business, it's a relationship, and you have to develop it, and it has to work, and there has to be, it has to be mutually beneficial, and it has to be something that the other person or you feel comfortable in. And that includes business relationships. And I think having that approach to these networks will help a lot for most people.
Absolutely. No progress comes without challenges. What challenges do law firms generally face when trying to join or engage with a nationwide network?
Yeah, so a big one, you feel, it's called the imposter syndrome. I know that's talked about a lot in legal field or just in general, but when you're joining a network that's already there, I think it's very easy to say, well, everybody has their connections. I can't try this, or I won't fit in here. But it's developing that corner for yourself. Um, it's one of those things where it's not a new concept. Obviously, networking is not a new concept by any means, but I feel like it's a newer activity in personal injury space, particularly when it comes to fee sharing and those kinds of things that have been front of mind kind of thing that's been in most jurisdictions now, and especially in Arizona, we can fee share with non-attorneys.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's something to think about when where these referrals are coming from. I think the challenge that a lot of attorneys will run into are ethical dilemmas, whether they can accept these cases, where they're coming from. Did the person that's referring to you just get paid to get them? Are you paying for the case? So it kind of gets into these weird ethical gray areas that will get fleshed out eventually. Um, but I think that's the biggest one, really, when it comes to that, is just the ethical dilemma. And then, which, and if you do mess up on a case,
Mhm.
is it the firm that referred it to you? Are you liable for the malpractice and or things like that? So it'll get fleshed out eventually, but I think, in the grand scheme of things, it really is a good thing for most firms.
Mhm. Do you have any suggestions on how can law firms overcome potential barriers to entry or participation in these networks?
Yeah, so it's really just knowing your niche, knowing what you're looking for, because yes, no matter what jurisdiction you're in, unfortunately, both jurisdictions I'm in are very competitive. Nevada and Arizona, very competitive personal injury space. But what it comes down to is finding your lane and really staying in it and really pushing it. For me, it was the um, grassroots marketing, where I would go to places, I would send out staff to places. We'd really just make sure that they understand that there are people on these cases. I'm the attorney on all the files that we have right now in the litigation and things like that. So we'll do everything, but it's really them understanding that not only are we going to take the case? We are the ones that really work the case. And I rarely refer out I won't refer out any Arizona cases, and we litigate them all so that I'll be the attorney on all of them. So really just understanding again, it's kind of starting at the end, understanding your goal. What's the goal with joining this network? Is it get a million cases? Because if it is, it's probably the wrong way to go about it. There's lots of firms out there that are just looking for cases. But is it to develop a network for yourself and for your firm? Because not only will you benefit, but your staff will too. Paralegals will benefit because then they can go ask the paralegal from that California firm you work with all the time if they've ever seen this issue. It just increases the availability of knowledge and just resources for not only yourself but the entire firm.
Absolutely. Talking about the future trends, Travis, how do you see the landscape of nationwide networks evolving in the next 5 to 10 years, let's say, particularly in the personal injury sector?
Yeah. So I think what's going to end up happening is companies, it's already starting, are going to monetize these networking, these leads, and just the firm to firm leads or firm to firm transfers or anything like that, referrals. So and there already there's marketplaces, like I said, that you can post a case and look for people that would want to take it nationwide. So there are plenty of things like that. I've even heard whispers of essentially an eBay-esque
Hmm.
referral where you'll post a case and people will bid on it and do that. So that's where I think it is heading. I think having a marketplace where everybody can go and pick and choose your cases, I think that's great. But again, I think what's going to make those networking groups or programs successful is it's beyond that. It's not just a marketplace where it sounds weird, but where you're just picking a case you're picking up a number from a website, where it's really lean into it. So that firm that you won the bid off of, reach out to them, message them, follow up, talk to the attorney, see what happened in the case before, develop the relationship, make it more than just, hey, that's the firm that picked up that one case that we got once.
Mhm.
So where it's going is it's going to get monetized, and it already is. But the way to continue growth for your firm and to make sure that those relationships aren't so it's not just a transaction.
Mhm.
Go beyond the transaction of just getting the case. And so making sure that you remember that these are cases and these are people that you're dealing with. It's not just another case that's coming in your firm, but make sure that you don't lose the
Mm.
personal part of it.
Yes. What emerging trends should personal injury law firms be aware of when considering nationwide networks?
Yeah, so it's kind of just that it's the monetization of these referral networks and the referrals in general. Um, Understand that if you join one that's developed or that's already there, that you might be walking into something that you might not get the best cases, you might not get any cases, you might not be able to develop any relationships. So really understanding the quality of that network that you're joining, or again, with the beauty of social media, you just develop your own. Go to these firms, go to like what I said we did is you just start regionally. You go to regional firms, say, hey, we've been looking for a California firm to refer to for a while, and we'd love to be your Arizona or Nevada firm that you think of. And that's worked. I mean, that's worked head over heel. I mean, it's been great for us. So developing that network just for you is perfect. But when going into the developed ones or the created ones, it is hard. I get it. It's hard to chisel out a space for you, especially if it's been going for a while. But understand your partners, understand your networking partners. So if you go into a large nationwide group, look regionally. What are the most likely firms that will get, for us again, Arizona or Nevada cases? So I go to Colorado, New Mexico, things like that. Approach those firms. Don't be afraid to approach. What's the worst that's going to happen? They'll say no. So it doesn't hurt. Just put yourself out there.
These are great tips, Travis. What advice would you give to a personal injury law firm that is hesitant about joining a nationwide network?
Yeah, don't be hesitant because one, people know when you're hesitant. It's like look at it as a high school party. The kids that are hesitant. It's
Uh-huh.
really the same thing, because people can tell that people are just there or that got dragged there by a friend.
Hmm.
And ultimately, when joining these nationwide groups, regional, whatever you want to call them, it's you have nothing to lose, and that's really the thing that I think people don't understand when it comes to networking groups is you really have nothing to lose. Worst case, you don't have anything. You don't get any cases. You don't do anything like that. You're exactly where you were if you didn't join it. But if you really put the time into it and understand what it takes to get and develop relationships in networking groups, it's extremely beneficial. And it's even if it's not for your business, it will be for your personal life because, like you said, you can make friends, or now you have somebody to refer to. So again, there's endless benefits. So I will always tell firm owners, attorneys, even paralegals out there, get out there, just try. And I guarantee you'll get one friend out of it, or you'll get a case or two. And then whether you're working for yourself, your firm, your boss, I mean, even paralegals now. I mean, if you're a paralegal out there and networking and you're bringing in cases, your value in this market just went up tenfold
Hmm.
beyond your knowledge, because the ability to drum up business in this kind of market that is just flooded with billboards and commercials and radio shows and things like that, your ability yourself to bring in a couple of cases a month is huge in this network.
I could not agree more. How can firms measure the success of their participation in a nationwide network, particularly regarding referrals and client satisfaction?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's lots of ways. It's one of those things where, as long as you have a process set up in your firm, there are ways to analyze it. I mean, we work with a system that allows our clients to essentially rate their experience every stage of the case. They'll get a notification once the stage changes and they'll say, how are you doing? So they can give us 5 stars, hopefully. And if they don't, we can address it right away. But also just look at the bottom line too. I mean, you can see we keep track of everywhere the case comes from, especially if it's referred from another firm. So we know exactly how many cases we're getting from that referral partner. So it's very easy to see um, how quickly your firm can change from these referral networks and these partners that you develop. For us, it was like that right off the bat. We partnered with a larger firm here in town, and we were getting a lot of cases to the point where we had to hire much quicker than we would have liked to. So
I love it.
it, yeah, and it was one of those things where is the risk there? Absolutely, the risk is there. And you don't know these clients, they're not looking for you specifically. But I'll tell you right now, all those clients that we helped out from that referral partner will come to us instead of calling that referral partner again.
Hmm. This was so great, Travis. To wrap up today's episode, remember that in the modern personal injury marketplace, collaboration is key. By leveraging nationwide networks, law firms can expand their referral flows, enhance their credibility, and ultimately provide better service for their clients. I hope that our discussion about the power of nationwide networks for law firms in the modern personal injury marketplace was informative and educational. And as promised, here's a fun pop question for you. Are you ready?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Okay. If you could have any celebrity as your best friend, who would you pick and why?
Yeah, that is a good question. I think right now, I feel like it changes all the time, but right now, I would probably say Ryan Reynolds. I think he's hilarious one.
He
And he's a
is. Oh my
family
God, love
guy.
him.
Yeah, he's a family guy. He has all daughters. I have all sons. So it's very interesting to see that perspective. But yeah, I don't know. I'd like to say he would like me, but we'll see.
You would get
Uh
along. That needs to be
yeah, yeah.
arranged.
We'd be best friends.
Oh, I love it. Please include me in your friendship. I would love to be there too.
Absolutely. I got
uh,
you.
Travis, that was an amazing time spent with you today. If anyone needs your professional help and is looking for valid injury law in Arizona or Nevada, how can they reach you?
Yeah, so just you can reach out to us on Instagram. It's honestly at Valley Injury Law. It's a good place to get us. Our website, azvalleyinjurylaw.com. Um, and you can also just email me. Honestly, if you want to email me, tmeltzer at azvalleyinjurylaw.com.
I love it. That was attorney Travis Meltzer, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank you all for listening and watching our story today. For more tips and tricks on legal funding and personal injury law and medicine related topics, follow me, download, like, and subscribe for It's Time for More Injury Funding podcast on several podcast platforms worldwide. And follow More Injury Funding on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Pinterest, YouTube, Google Business Profile, and my website at moreinjuryfunding.com. I can't wait to see my dear listeners and viewers at my next coming episode. Until then, be well.
Thank you.
And